The Zodiac Killer is one of the most infamous and mysterious serial killers in American history. Operating in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s, the Zodiac's reign of terror has captivated true crime enthusiasts for decades, mainly due to the killer's cryptic letters, taunting messages, and gruesome crimes. His identity remains unknown to this day, despite numerous investigations and theories. The Zodiac's first confirmed victims were high school students, Betty Lou Jensen, 16, and David Faraday, 17, who were shot and killed on December 20, 1968, near Vallejo, California. They were parked on a secluded road when a man approached their car, shot them, and then fled the scene. Though this was the first confirmed murder linked to the Zodiac, authorities believe he may have been responsible for other unsolved killings before this. Less than a year later, the Zodiac struck again. On July 4, 1969, Darlene Ferrin, 22, and Michael Mageau, 19, were parked near a secluded area known as Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. The killer approached their car, shooting both of them. Darlene died at the scene, but Michael survived and provided a detailed description of the shooter, who was reportedly a white male in his 20s. Following these murders, the Zodiac Killer sent a series of cryptic letters to local newspapers, one of which contained a cipher made up of symbols and letters. In these letters, he taunted the police and the public, boasting about his killings and threatening to commit more. He claimed responsibility for a total of 37 murders, although the true number of his victims is unknown, as he was never conclusively linked to all of them. The most notorious of these letters was the 340-character cipher sent in 1969. It took over 50 years for a team of private citizens to finally crack the code, but it still revealed nothing about the killer's identity. Instead, it contained a message from the Zodiac mocking the police and further taunting the public. The killer was named after the symbol he used in his letters, a circle with a cross through it, representing the symbol of a zodiac. This emblem became a signature for the killer, and while the meaning behind the symbol remains unclear, it fueled the mythos around the Zodiac, making him even more enigmatic. On September 27, 1969, the Zodiac's violence escalated. Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Ann Shepard, 22, were relaxing by a lake in the Presidio Heights area when a man in a hood approached them. He tied them up, then stabbed them both repeatedly. Brian survived the attack and was able to provide another description of the killer, who fled the scene shortly after. This case took an even more chilling turn when the Zodiac contacted the press again, this time providing an additional letter and a new cipher. One of the most infamous Zodiac letters was the one sent to the San Francisco Chronicle in 1970. This letter included details about the Presidio Heights murders that had not been made public, which only served to further cement the fear around the killer's presence. The last confirmed killing attributed to the Zodiac Killer took place on July 4, 1969, when he attacked a young couple, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, in a car. The killer shot and killed Darlene, but Michael survived. The Zodiac was able to escape unnoticed, and once again, he contacted the local press. There are at least 5 known victims of the Zodiac Killer: Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, murdered in 1968; Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, murdered in 1969; Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Ann Shepard, attacked but survived Donald and Betty Lou Zabriskie, 1969. There are also rumors of other possible murders being linked to the Zodiac, but they remain unconfirmed. Over the years, there have been various theories and suspects, but none of them have been definitively proven. Some of the main suspects include Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted child molester who died in 1992, Richard Gaikowski, a former journalist who worked at the San Francisco Chronicle, and more recently, a DNA sample from one of the Zodiac letters has led some to suspect a connection to a now-deceased man named Gary Francis Post. Despite efforts from investigators and the public alike, the Zodiac Killer's identity remains a mystery, and many of his victims' families continue to search for answers. The Zodiac has become one of the most famous unsolved serial killer cases in history, cementing his place in the annals of true crime lore. The legacy of the Zodiac Killer continues to haunt the residents of Northern California and has become the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and films. The killer's anonymity, cryptic messages, and fearsome reputation have ensured that his name endures as one of the most terrifying figures in American history. Even now, the Zodiac continues to mystify, his final act leaving behind a trail of fear that is yet to be fully unraveled. The question remains: will we ever know who the Zodiac Killer truly was? And more chillingly, what if he is still out there, watching and waiting for the right moment to strike again? The identity of the Zodiac Killer may never be fully revealed, but one thing is certain: his terrifying legacy will continue to haunt us for years to come.